Four-wheel drive clubs. Are they an outdated aspect of the past or the best and easiest way for you to enjoy your recreation and lifestyle? Let's break it down. Hi, I'm Jono. I run 4x4 Monthly NZ here in NZ, where we basically just do a whole bunch of four-wheel driving and four-wheel driving things. For many years, the best and only way to sort of explore New Zealand and enjoy this recreation was four-wheel drive clubs. They had the access and they were the people you could talk to. This is back before, of course, social media. That changed everything. You'd have to roll down to the local event centre, have a meeting with these four drivers and meet people like-minded like ourselves. These days social media does that, but does that mean they're an outdated thing of the past? The original four-wheel drive clubs, the earliest I could find was the Canterbury Land Rover Owners Club in 1966. Shortly after that was the Auckland four-wheel drive club in 1969, so they have been around a heck of a long time. They know their shit. Shortly after that though, or not long after that, the New Zealand Four-Wheel Drive Association was founded in 1974. Today, this association with the adjoined and associated clubs has over 2,100 members, so maybe four-wheel drive clubs aren't out of date. Today there are 62 registered clubs with the association, so there is definitely one near you, and I highly recommend you hunting them down. But let's break down why you should do that and why you should even look at joining a four-wheel drive club. You might be a solo adventurer, maybe just getting into the four-wheel drive scene. You just bought your first four-wheel drive and you want to know who and what and how to talk and go about it. Or you might be a family and you're worried about getting stuck in somewhere where you really shouldn't have been. Then a four-wheel drive club is going to be great for you. You've got benefits of having like-minded people around, people who are into your recreation and your lifestyle, but benefit of having professionals and enthusiasts around who have many, many years of experience. Some of them have been doing it from 1966, maybe. Let's look at the admin side of why you should join a club. First of all, joining an associated club means you're joining the New Zealand Four-Wheel Drive Association. The more and more people we can get to join the association, the bigger and bigger voice we have. This means that the more and more things we can achieve and the bigger and bigger funding gets for us to achieve those things, i.e. trails being opened. So unity makes us strong. The more people, the more voice. Pretty simple. Next one though is the insurance cover. This is quite a unique one and an interesting one. By joining the New Zealand Four-Wheel Drive Association or an affiliated club, you will gain public liability insurance for when hosting or whilst taking part in a sanctioned four-wheel drive event. That means club trips, that means club events, that means four-wheel drive events annually hosted by the New Zealand Four-Wheel Drive Association. That pretty much means everything to do with four-wheel driving that isn't just you and your crew going out wheeling. This means that if anything does happen, you're covered and you can even find legal advice there to aid you in that cover. Pretty wicked, and that's probably worth the $45 a year just on its own, just like that. The next reason why is land access. It's a big issue right now. We're losing trails here left, right and centre. Things are being locked down. There's more and more people out there doing more and more of this, and social media is giving people likes for doing dumb shit. So we have them in the background doing a massive amount of work to try and associate us with a good name, a proper name, and that means that we can keep places open. So what does that mean for you joining a four-wheel drive club? Well, although we have access to apps and notes on your phone and websites that have a plethora of resources and information, all those trails put together is not even probably comes close to the amount of land access a four-wheel drive club can have. They'll have private playgrounds, they'll have private stations they can get access to, private farms, there's private tracks out there which can only be accessed by a four-wheel drive club and are not allowed to be on social media. So there's places you can get to via a club. If that's not worth it, I don't know what's going to sell it to you. The New Zealand Four-Wheel Drive Association, as I mentioned, works hard and endlessly to make sure our voices are recognised and our needs are recognised, i.e. land access. It's because of them that big names like the Maritoto Trail, which is opened I think seasonally or even all year round, it's just closed under bad weather conditions. That's because of the Four-Wheel Drive Association. The 42 Traverse is open seasonally because of the Four-Wheel Drive Association, and the Wangamomona, oh god, I hate this name, Wangamomona Road is opened and accessible because of the Four-Wheel Drive Association who funded those bridges. So you kind of get what I'm saying at? Join up and you can keep getting access to these places with a bigger and bigger voice. They've done actually a huge effort behind the scenes. It kind of blows my mind to read how much they've actually done and where they've come. So as social media expands, we get bigger and bigger, and so does everything else in this world. We should be banding together, uniting under the New Zealand Four-Wheel Drive Association to be able to still get into these places and create the funding to keep those bridges open or rebuild a trail like the 42 Traverse right now, closed because a massive slip, and it's probably going to remain that way for a while because no one wants to pay for it other than us four-wheel drivers. Now the next one's competition. It's not my vibe. It's not really my vibe. I haven't tried it. Maybe it is my vibe. Competition though, the Four-Wheel Drive Association and associated clubs will each individually host their four-wheel drive events. Of course, we're covered under liability insurance, but the hosting four-wheel drive events from trials and winch competitions from absolute beginner, as in i.e. take your stock standard four-wheel drive and have a go, all the way up to national competitions where they thrash, bash and really go loud. It's not my vibe, but hey, crack into it. Why not? Give it a crack. See how your truck goes. You might find a new hobby or find a new lifestyle. Lastly though, the Four-Wheel Drive Association has a big voice when it comes to vehicle regulations. The association itself is a founding member of the LVVTA, and they work hard to make sure the regulations and restrictions set on our four-wheel drive vehicles are both sensible and applicable to our recreation, i.e. the 2-inch lift and 5% increase. That's kind of all you need in New Zealand. You can go bigger. I like going bigger, it definitely hits those harder trails, but for the most part of overlanding, the New Zealand Association has been able to make it sure that it's kind of cheap and easy for us. That's the admin side of it all. That's a lot. It probably is kind of a lot, but that is the admin side of it all. So let's look at the actual fundamentals of joining a four-wheel drive club. First of all, cruise. Cruise, I guess, crowds, people. The social side of a four-wheel drive club. They have socials every month where you'll get together, have some beers, yarn your latest trail antics, and plan the next big trips. So you're meeting everyone from the absolute beginner who's just looking to try and get into four-wheel driving, all the way up to the absolute expert who's been there from 1966 and knows the ins and outs of every trail he's ever been on. So there is like-minded people who probably have far more experience than you do, and you can engulf that experience and acknowledge as much as you like. It's kind of cool. Along with that comes training. So four-wheel drive clubs do offer training days, whether you can brand new to it or you might be really super experienced. They can take you out, you can train people or be trained by people who have done this for years and really sort of learn the limits of your four-wheel drive, which is really what comes down to making a good four-wheel driver is knowing the limits of your vehicle. So what a great way to do that. And lastly, of course, not only the crowds but the safety of having people around. You've got professionals there who can climb in the mud. So if you're solo, you're new to it and you want to start it in a safe environment, then a four-wheel drive club is for you, especially if it's the family. You hate to go away with the family, get stuck in the mud, the wife's stress into all hell, the baby's crying in the back and you're in 12 inches of mud underneath your four-wheel drive trying to dig it out because you took a wrong line. That's all solved when you go away with a four-wheel drive club because someone else is under your truck digging in that 12 inches of mud, hooking you up to get out. You don't have to get dirty. So on average, I've found clubs to run a trip a month, which is huge. It's awesome. That's 12 trips a year, maybe more or less, but it probably means you can probably at least get on one or two. The issue I have found with clubs is they run them on weekends. I work in tourism. I don't get weekends. I get weekdays off as my weekends. But it does mean that I can't really do too many trips in a year because I'm not off for those days. Now that's not to say the weekends, if you work weekends, that clubs aren't for you. You can always join anyways because you're helping the greater four-wheel drive community, but also just host a trip that suits you. Put the event notice out there saying I'm hosting a trip Tuesday to Friday. Anyone want to come join me on the four-wheel drive club? And you'll probably find people are going to take days off and go do that because we love our activity, we love our recreation, we want to be there doing it. So if you want to find the closest club to you and inquire, then I've put a link to the page in the description below, and this is going to show you every four-wheel drive club in the country. Browse through there, you're going to find someone somewhere nearby and flick them an email because what's the worst going to happen? Just inquire, turn it up to a social event, have a couple of beers with some four-wheel drivers, and before you know it, you'll probably be hosting a trip nearby. But I should also talk about the downsides. With everything, there's going to be a little bit of downsides, and there's just a couple. There's not a lot, but there's just a couple over my experience with them, and it mostly comes from a clash of interests in some sense. Particularly over debates over tyre size, whether you're allowed in. You're turning up with the Safari on 37s, Shannon. You definitely can look like the kind of people the club doesn't want to be associated with. So there might be a bit of proving your worth, but that all comes with anything, joining a club anywhere. You've got to prove your worth before you're sort of associated with the club. Secondly, clash of interests also comes from sort of, I guess, old school to new school, or a clash between a trip leader and a convoy or someone in the convoy. They might have different ideas, different plans on how they want to execute things. You just got to remember when it comes to these things, there can be a little bit of hierarchy. You've got to respect it. Remember, you're an intro, you're a newbie to it, or whether you're the old elite and you've been running it for years, there might be new, better ways to do it. Who knows? Just go in there with an open mind, looking to learn on every trip you can. Not always the teacher, you can also be the student in everyday four-wheel driving, which is great. So I recommend becoming a United member if you don't think clubs are for you. But I think 80% of you, the clubs are for, 90% of you clubs are for. Look at your local four-wheel drive club, sign on up, support the grander community of four-wheel driving, and let's see a brighter future on the horizon. Now, if I've talked far too long or far too fast, give us a like. And if you like what we do, join the channel, subscribe down below. We're going to be monthly episodes coming of trips away somewhere, somehow. And the next one dropping, of course, the 1st of next month. We'll see you there. Cheers, team.